The millionaire vowed no feelings in their contract until she vanished without a word. Maya walking confidently down a sleek corporate hallway in slow motion. Would you marry a man who doesn't believe in love? Who offers you a cold, calculated marriage contract instead of a ring? He's a billionaire CEO who sees marriage as just another business deal. She's the woman who vowed never to lose her heart to a man again. But contracts don't control feelings. And sometimes, the heart breaks every rule. Subscribe now to witness what happens when love refuses to follow the script. The contract with no heart. New York City, present day. The elevator chimed on the 50th floor of Sterling Technologies. But the woman who stepped out didn't rush. Maya Carter walked slowly, deliberately, her heels striking marble like a war drum. She was late, on purpose. In a world ruled by numbers, efficiency, and polished egos, this was her rebellion. And in that glass-walled boardroom up ahead, 12 of the most powerful people in tech were waiting, including him. Ethan Sterling, CEO, billionaire, untouchable, and the man who just offered to marry her. Not out of love, out of necessity. They want their CEO to appear stable. Ethan had said in that voice of his, cool as January wind. And apparently, stability means being married. Maya had laughed, then almost cried. Because she wasn't his girlfriend. Wasn't even his friend. She was the company's innovation consultant, fierce, brilliant, and tired of being dismissed. Now she was being offered a contract marriage with a man who had never known what it meant to feel. 1 year, he said, we fake it, then we walk away. No feelings, she warned. No pretending it's real. He didn't even blink. Agreed. But what neither of them knew, what the board didn't foresee, and the contract didn't account for, was this. Feelings don't follow rules. And when two people hide behind walls long enough, sometimes, love breaks through where logic used to live. Session 1. The wedding with no vows. The contract was signed. The ink had barely dried when Maya Carter found herself standing inside the bridal suite of the Four Seasons. Staring at her reflection in a full-length mirror. She wore cream, not white. No veil, no train. No joy. Her hands were steady. Her heart was not. Across the room, Olivia Grant, board member, image consultant, and orchestrator of this entire corporate theater, checked her phone. The press release goes live at noon. Olivia said flatly. A small, private ceremony. Strategic partnership through matrimony. All very modern fairy tale. Maya didn't look away from the mirror. Is that what we're calling it now? A fairy tale? It's just optics. Olivia replied, we need the merger. The Japanese partners believe in symbolic stability. Marriage is stability. Maya let out a breath. Right, because nothing says innovation like a woman being used as a reputation shield. But she had agreed, hadn't she? 1 year of fake marriage in exchange for full funding for her innovation department. 1,000 jobs saved, an entire system overhauled, if she played her role. And Ethan Sterling? He would get the merger. The approval. The illusion of humanity. Win-win. Except no one warned her how much pretending would hurt. The ceremony was short, brutally efficient. No vows, no music, no flowers, just a few board members, a notary, and the sharp sound of camera shutters. Ethan looked breathtaking in a custom Tom Ford suit. But his face was unreadable, etched in the same cool indifference that had made him a legend in every Wall Street publication. They exchanged rings. Plain gold bands. He slid hers on without looking at her. You may now kiss the bride. The notary said blandly. Ethan hesitated for just a second. Maya tilted her chin up, but didn't close her eyes. Their lips met briefly. Not a kiss. A transaction. A signature in the air. That night, in the penthouse Ethan had arranged for them, Maya poured herself a drink. He was already working in the corner. Laptop open. Tie loosened. She watched him for a moment. This was her husband now. But he hadn't asked what she wanted for dinner. He hadn't commented on her dress. He hadn't looked at her like a man might look at his bride. She walked past him without a word and disappeared into the guest bedroom. And for the first time in a long time, Maya Carter let herself cry. Not because she regretted it, but because she'd just given a year of her life to a man who didn't believe in love, and she was terrified of what that might do to her heart. The next morning, they appeared in public for the first time. Hand in hand, cameras flashing, stock prices rising. Ethan whispered through a frozen smile. Remember what we agreed. Appearances only. Maya's reply was sweet and sharp. Don't worry, Mr. Sterling, I'm just a very convincing liar. But even as they walked toward the press line, even as her fingers curled perfectly around his, Maya caught it, a tremor, in his hand, the first crack in his perfectly built fortress. And deep inside her, something shifted, not enough to be called hope. Not yet, but enough to make her wonder. What if I'm not the only one pretending? Session 2. The wedding with no vows. The penthouse suite of the Four Seasons was quiet, too quiet for what was supposed to be a wedding day. Maya Carter stood before a full-length mirror, wrapped in cream silk and tension. Her dress was minimal, no veil, no train, no embellishments, just smooth, tailored lines and a cut that hugged her body like an agreement she hadn't signed with her heart. Across the room, Olivia Grant, the board's communications head and resident handler of disasters in heels, glanced at her phone. Press release goes out at noon. Small, private ceremony. 2 visionary professionals, finding love in the boardroom. Maya arched an eyebrow. Love, she echoed, the word foreign on her tongue. Olivia's voice softened. For what it's worth, Ethan didn't want this either. Maya looked back at her reflection. Ethan Sterling doesn't want anything unless he's calculated the return on investment. He had options, Olivia added. He could have married a Rothschild or a Hayashi. Business dynasties, polished, packaged, but he chose you. Maya gave a tight smile. Because I'm already in the building. Convenient. Olivia didn't argue. The ceremony was exactly what you'd expect from a contract, brief. Efficient, emotionally sterile, just enough to satisfy the optics. A notary officiated, 2 witnesses, a photographer snapping moments to be later leaked in Forbes's Power Couple watch. Ethan Sterling wore a black Tom Ford suit with surgical precision. His tie matched his eyes, ice blue. Distant. Maya wore determination. They exchanged the plainest gold bands money could buy. No vows, no whispered promises, just a legal acknowledgement that for the next 12 months, they were one, a unit forged in corporate necessity, not affection. Congratulations, Henry Brooks toasted at the reception, raising his glass with a smirk. To the perfect merger. Maya sipped champagne that tasted like ash and looked over at Ethan, who kept his hand neatly at the small of her back for the camera's benefit. Not an inch more. Later that night, in the opulent suite of the Mandarin Oriental, Maya stood barefoot by the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring down at the city that never cared. The skyline twinkled like it was laughing at her. Behind her, the door clicked. Ethan entered, his jacket off, sleeves rolled, collar unbuttoned, somehow even disheveled. He looked perfectly controlled. The Japanese board is pleased, he said without preamble. Our stock went up 3 points in after-hours trading. Maya didn't turn. How romantic. He moved beside her, their reflections merging in the glass. We're expected to maintain appearances. Maya turned then, sharp eyes locking with his. You mean sleep together? He didn't flinch. Yes. She crossed to the bar, poured herself a drink. What's the plan? Schedule? Spreadsheet? Position rotation? Silence. She turned to find him not calculating, but frozen, his jaw clenched, his hands tucked deep in his pockets. And there it was, fear. Real, unscripted. I've never, he started. Voice rough. I've never done this. Maya blinked. Had sex? He nodded once, stiff as steel. She set her glass down, hard doing an odd, aching twist. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know what you're signing up for. And what is that exactly? Ethan? She asked, her voice quieter now. He moved to the window again, eyes tracing something beyond. A man trained to see people as distractions, who was told intimacy was weakness. I was sent to all-male schools, graduated early. My life has been this company. So no late-night heartbreaks? No messy college love stories? None, he said, just clean contracts, achievements, control. Maya studied him, the power in his shoulders, the tension in his fists. And then, she softened. I've had messy, she said, walking toward him slowly. Too messy. A fiancé who proposed at a gala and dumped me at brunch. She stopped just inches from him. So maybe, we teach each other. He turned. She reached up and undid his tie, fingers brushing his throat. He didn't stop her. Close your eyes, she whispered. He frowned. Why? Because you live in your head. Just for once, feel. He obeyed. Slowly. And in that moment, standing in a penthouse made of glass and pressure, Maya Carter kissed Ethan Sterling. Not for the cameras. Not for the contract. But because somewhere in the tension of his silence, she'd heard something honest. And it answered something lonely in her. Their first kiss wasn't practiced or poetic, it was sharp, unsteady, and unexpectedly sweet. He kissed like a man discovering gravity. Clumsy, desperate, learning. She guided him, gently, patiently, like she might a scared animal. Not a titan of industry. Later, they lay beneath sheets they hadn't planned to wrinkle. Bodies tangled, breath uneven. The city glowed beyond the windows. But inside, only quiet remained. Ethan stared at the ceiling. Are you analyzing this? She asked. Curled against him. I'm trying not to, he said softly. Good, she whispered, because I'm not. And for the first time in years, Maya didn't feel like she was negotiating her worth. And Ethan didn't feel like he had to. Session 3, the song he never played. 2 weeks into their corporate marriage, Maya discovered something about Ethan Sterling that wasn't in any press release or executive profile. He played the piano. It was just past midnight when she first heard it, soft, haunting notes drifting through the penthouse like a memory trying to find its way home. At first, she thought it was the radio. But the sound was too raw, too imperfect, human. She followed the music barefoot, wrapped in a silk robe, the quiet echoing through the marble hallways. And there he was, sitting at the grand piano in the corner of the living room, lit only by the faint blue glow of Manhattan outside. Ethan Sterling, CEO, billionaire, tactician, was playing Chopin. Not for show, not for an audience, just playing. His posture was looser than she'd ever seen. Sleeves rolled, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. The careful mask of CEO perfection cracked by the act of memory. He hadn't heard her yet. She almost didn't want him to. But something, instinct or heart, made him glance up. And their eyes met. I didn't know you played, she said quietly, stepping into the room. He turned back to the keys, fingers ghosting over them without pressing. My mother taught me, he said, before she died. The admission landed with a stillness even the piano couldn't fill. How old were you? 8. Maya sat down beside him, close enough to feel the heat of his body, the coolness of his grief. She was the only one who didn't treat me like a product, he said after a long pause. My father, he didn't like distractions. After she passed, the piano stayed, but music didn't. But you still play, Maya said. Only when I can't sleep. She wanted to ask more. About his father. About the life that sculpted this man of contracts and walls. But instead, she reached out and pressed a single key. Middle C. Its sound floated through the air between them. Play for me. He studied her, as if measuring the risk. Then, after a breath, he placed both hands on the keys. The melody changed. It wasn't Chopin now. It wasn't anything familiar. It was something else, halting at first, then growing. A raw, unpolished melody that climbed and trembled, like something being born and broken all at once. What is this? She asked. Transfixed. I don't know, he said, barely above a whisper. It's just what I feel when I look at you. Maya blinked. Something in her chest twisted, painful, tender, dangerous. She closed her eyes and let the song wash over her. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. When the last note faded, neither of them moved. The silence between them now wasn't awkward. It was full, sacred. You never talk about her, Maya said softly. Your mother. She was soft, Ethan replied, eyes on the keys, and kind. And he, my father, saw that as weakness. After she died, we never spoke of her again. As if erasing her made the pain more efficient. Maya reached over, fingers brushing his. You were a child. He looked at her then, truly looked. I was a Sterling. Feelings weren't part of the education. Maybe they should have been, she said. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Maybe. She leaned her head against his shoulder. The piano bench hard beneath them but somehow comforting. You're different when you play, she whispered. I'm real when I play. Then don't stop. He turned to her, searching her face. Is this part of the contract? She shook her head, eyes shimmering. No, this is the clause we write ourselves. And when he kissed her, it wasn't desperate like that first night. It was slow, tender, like the melody he had just played. Like a vow he didn't know how to say. They made love again that night, on the piano bench. Then beneath the stars filtering through the penthouse windows. And this time, it wasn't about obligation or expectation. It was about feeling. Later, wrapped in a throw blanket on the living room sofa, Maya traced circles on Ethan's chest while he played with her curls. "We should talk about this," she said. "About what?" She tilted her head. "About how this isn't feeling very contractual anymore." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "It terrifies me." "Why?" "Because I don't know how to do this." He gestured between them. Relationships, emotions, vulnerability. It wasn't part of the plan. She smiled gently. "Plans change." His eyes met hers, uncertain. Searching. "Do they?" She kissed him once. Softly. "They do now." Outside, the city continued its endless, glittering routine. But inside, something had changed. The man who never let anyone in had let her into the one place he never showed, the music of his heart. And Maya Carter, once skeptical, once guarded, realized something she never expected. She was falling. Hard. And maybe, just maybe, so was he. Session 4. When the walls began to crack. The morning after Ethan played piano for her, Maya woke in a bed that smelled faintly of his cologne and her lavender oil. The silk sheets tangled around her legs. The air was still, heavy with unspoken truths. She watched Ethan sleeping, one arm thrown over the pillow she'd used. His usually perfect hair a mess of soft waves. The man looked younger, vulnerable, human, and she felt herself fall a little more. But it didn't last, because the world outside that penthouse didn't sleep, and neither did the media. By noon, Maya's phone was lighting up with texts from Olivia, the board, her innovation team, even a few journalists who just wanted a quote. The Wall Street Journal headline hit like a brick. "Sterling marriage, strategic love or insider play?" Underneath, a subheadline read, "SEC questions timeline of CEO Ethan Sterling's sudden nuptials and merger with Horizon Innovations." Maya froze in the middle of her living room. She barely registered the sound of Ethan's footsteps behind her. He stopped when he saw her face. "What is it?" She handed him the phone. As he read, the light in his expression dimmed. Word by word. "They're investigating us?" he said. Quiet, like he was still trying to believe it. "They're suggesting the marriage was used to manipulate investor confidence," Maya said, voice tight. "They're coming after both of us." A beat of silence. Then Ethan swore. "Who leaked this?" "I don't know," Maya said, "but it's not just a leak. It's a narrative. They think we faked this for stock movement." "We did fake it," he shot back, "at least at first." "Yeah," Maya said, eyes locking with his. "But it's not fake now. Is it?" He didn't answer. Not with words. His jaw tightened, his eyes dropped, and Maya felt the first splinter of hurt wedge between her ribs. Later that day, the SEC officially notified Sterling Technologies of their intent to review all documents relating to the marriage and the merger. Emails, calendars, personal correspondence. The board called an emergency meeting. It was brutal. Maya sat beside Ethan at the head of the long table, under fluorescent lights that made her skin feel 2 shades too pale. Across from them sat Olivia Grant, the general counsel, and 3 members of the board, all men, all tight-lipped, all afraid. "The optics are devastating," one said. "The merger was built on this union. If it unravels, it's not unraveling." Ethan snapped. "Then prove it," another board member said coldly. "Open your private life. Let them see everything, or the stock dies." Ethan's hands clenched on the table. Maya felt like she was floating outside her own body. Everything was moving too fast. Too loud. "You're asking us to turn our marriage into a press conference?" she asked. Trying to sound steady. "You turned it into a strategy." One of them replied, "You live in the glass house now. You don't get curtains." And in that moment, Maya knew they weren't protecting her. They weren't protecting Ethan. They were protecting themselves. She stood. "So let me guess. If it all blows up, I take the fall?" "Your innovation department gained the most from the merger," one of them said. "Convenient." She spat. "The black woman gets blamed. The billionaire walks." Ethan stood now. "Two. Enough." His voice cracked like thunder in the room. "You want someone to take the fall?" he asked. "Then let it be me." The room froze. Maya turned to him, heart thundering. "Ethan?" But his eyes were burning now, not cold, not calculated, furious. "I'll step down," he said, temporarily. Until this is resolved. Olivia looked stunned. That would cause chaos. Let it, Ethan said. I won't watch her get crucified for a deal I engineered. Maya blinked. That word again. Engineered. Her stomach twisted. Because even now, he still saw this as something he'd built, not something they'd become. As they left the room, the air between them was electric. Brittle. In the elevator, she finally spoke. You still see this as a strategy, don't you? He turned toward her. I'm trying to protect you. That's not what I asked. He didn't answer. And that silence hurt more than any lie. That night, Maya stood alone in the penthouse. Ethan had stayed at the office. Buried in legal meetings, or maybe avoiding her, she wandered into the music room. The piano was untouched. She sat on the bench, laid her fingers on the keys. But no sound came. The next morning, a press release hit every major outlet. Ethan Sterling steps down as CEO pending SEC review. The markets responded instantly. Sterling Tech stock dropped 9%. Horizon paused the merger. And Maya? She walked into work like a woman walking into fire. Reporters waited outside. Employees stared. Her assistant Mia looked pale. The board asked to see you, she said. Maya nodded. But when she opened the boardroom door, she wasn't ready for what she saw. Ethan, standing at the head of the table. Pale, exhausted, but standing. I called this meeting, he said before anyone else could speak. Because I lied. The board blinked. Ethan looked at Maya. I said I stepped down to protect the company. But that's not the full truth. He turned back to the board. I stepped down because I love her. The room was silent. Maya's heart stopped. Ethan took a breath. And I didn't want to admit it. Not to you. Not to her. Not even to myself. But this isn't a contract anymore. It's not strategy. It's not salvage work. It's love. Maya felt tears rise to her eyes. I built walls my whole life. Ethan continued. But she made me tear them down. Not for business. Not for appearance. For me. He turned back to Maya. And I should have said that before now. I should have made it real. Then, he reached into his pocket. Pulled out a folded sheet of paper. My resignation, he said. Real this time. If you need a scapegoat, take me. But leave her out of this. He walked out of the boardroom without another word. Maya stood frozen, until her heart broke wide open. She turned to the board. I'm not letting him do this alone. Then, without waiting for permission, she followed him out. She found him in the hallway. Shoulders shaking, fists clenched. You idiot, she said softly. He turned, startled. Maya. She kissed him. Not because the board needed a performance. Not because the SEC needed proof. Because she did. When they broke apart, she whispered, You're not alone anymore, remember? He nodded. Eyes wet. Voice cracked. I do now. And for the first time in either of their lives, truth didn't come in a contract. It came in a kiss. Session 5, the interview. The sky over Manhattan was gunmetal gray as Maya walked into the Sterling Technologies media room. Outside, news vans lined the block like vultures waiting for a fall. Inside, the board had prepared everything: one stool, one spotlight, one woman, her. A single red light blinked on the front of the camera. Live. And suddenly, Maya wasn't just an innovation strategist or a reluctant bride. She was a woman about to bare her soul to a world that wanted blood. Olivia stood nearby, lips tight. Are you sure about this? No, Maya said honestly, adjusting the mic on her blouse. But I'm done being silent. She sat down, took a breath. The journalist on the monitor, Diane Keller from the Morning Post, smiled politely. Mrs. Sterling, thank you for joining us. Maya returned a tight smile. It's just Maya. Of course. Maya, let's begin with the obvious. Why did you agree to marry Ethan Sterling? Maya looked into the camera. Not at Diane, not at the board members watching behind the glass, but at whoever was out there, someone like her. Perhaps, a woman who had once believed love wasn't meant for people like her. Because I thought I could control it, she said. I thought if I kept it a contract, a clean, mutual agreement, I could protect myself. From what? From caring, Maya said quietly. From the vulnerability that comes with love. Because love is messy. It's not efficient. It doesn't scale. And I'd spent my whole life making myself efficient. Scalable. Unbreakable. Diane paused. But you did fall in love? Maya's lips trembled into something soft. Yeah, I did. How did you know? She thought of Midnight Piano. of whispered fears, of Ethan trembling under her hands like a man who'd never been touched. I knew when he played for me, she whispered, not for the cameras, not for a strategy, just for me. The room behind the glass was silent. The journalist leaned in. So what do you say to those who believe this marriage was a ploy to inflate sterling stock? I say they're right, Maya said, at least at first. There was a collective intake of breath. She continued. The board engineered it. They wanted the image of stability, of tradition. Ethan and I agreed because we thought we could handle it. Two smart people, one contract, no mess. She laughed softly. But love doesn't follow contracts. And mess? Mess finds you. Maya, Diane said carefully. The SEC investigation revealed clauses in your agreement that heavily favored Ethan. That if the marriage ended early, your projects would revert to him. Were you aware? Yes, Maya said. I found that clause 3 days ago. And yes, it broke something in me. Did you consider ending the marriage? I did, Maya said, but not because of the clause. Because I thought he'd never love me back. I thought I was just part of a strategy. I didn't want to be a footnote in another man's empire. And now? Maya leaned forward. I'm not a footnote, she said. I'm the woman who made the empire human. And he's the man who gave up everything to prove it. The journalist sat back. The red light blinked once. Then stopped. Off air. Olivia walked in from the side. Her eyes wide. You just detonated a bomb. Good, Maya said, standing. Maybe something real can grow out of the ashes. But what Maya didn't expect was the reaction. Within 2 hours, #I am not a contract trended nationwide. Women in boardrooms, women in startups, women in love with men afraid to name it, they all saw her. They saw themselves. By that evening, the New York Times ran the headline. From strategy to soulmate, Maya Carter breaks the silence on love, power, and control. That night, Ethan didn't come home, not because he didn't want to, but because he was in federal custody. The SEC had one last card to play. A former board member, Victor Hayes, claimed Ethan had pressured the board to manipulate stock timing based on the marriage. It was a lie, but a convenient one. And now Ethan sat in an interrogation room while lawyers argued over jail time, resignations, and shattered reputations. Maya stood outside the holding area. Her hands clenched. You can't see him, the agent said. Not tonight. So she waited in the hallway. All night. At 3:17 a.m., Olivia called. I just got the documents, she said breathlessly. They've got nothing. It's all circumstantial. Hayes is lying. But they want Ethan to take a deal, Olivia said. Step down permanently. Admit no fault, but walk away and disappear. Maya closed her eyes. She knew what that meant. They wanted to erase him. Erase them. By morning, Ethan was released, hair tousled, eyes ringed with exhaustion. But when he saw Maya, something like light broke through. I saw the interview, he said, voice hoarse. You didn't have to do that. Yes, she said, walking to him. I did. He opened his mouth, maybe to thank her, but she held up a hand. I'm not done. Ethan blinked. I love you, Maya said, and if you're still trying to protect me, stop. We built this mess together. We fix it together. And if that means burning it down and building it back from scratch, from love this time, not leverage, then let's do it. Ethan looked at her for a long time. Then he pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. I rewrote our contract, he said. Want to read it? Maya unfolded it. One line. Clause 1. I choose you. Every day. For real. Forever. She looked up, tears in her eyes. You forgot to get it notarized, she whispered. He grinned, then kissed her like the world had finally stopped spinning. And maybe, just maybe, it had. Session 6. Love in the Ashes. The morning after Ethan's release, Manhattan was quiet. Too quiet. Sterling Technologies, once the glowing citadel of cutting-edge innovation, now stood like a wounded giant. Its stock had dropped another 8% overnight. Investors were spooked. The media buzzed with speculation. SEC investigations loomed. And inside the 54th floor conference room, the board sat in cold silence. Ethan entered in a crisp navy suit, his tie a little crooked, his face gaunt from a sleepless night. Maya followed, heels echoing beside his. Whispers halted. The power couple was back. But they weren't here to save face. They were here to start a war against the one thing that had always ruled their lives: control. Let's begin, Ethan said calmly, taking the head of the table once again, this time, not as a CEO gripping control, but as a man who had just learned how to let go. Olivia Grant was already seated, legal files in front of her. We've reviewed the clauses from the Horizon merger, as well as communications with former board members. Agent Lopez confirmed Hayes fabricated key elements of the insider trading allegations. And the SEC? Ethan asked. Will likely close the investigation, but they want accountability and transparency. And the board? Maya cut in, her tone edged in quiet fire. What do you want? One of the older members, Frederick Langston, cleared his throat. We want to survive this. Ethan, stepping down, temporarily, could still send a strong message to the market. And let the wolves think he's guilty? Maya fired back. Perception is reality, Mrs. Sterling. No, Ethan said suddenly. Reality is reality. And here's the truth. He stood, pulled a flash drive from his coat pocket, and inserted it into the projector. A video began to play, security footage. Not from the office. From a luxury spa in the Hamptons. It showed Victor Hayes and 2 other former board members meeting 6 weeks ago, well before Ethan and Maya's wedding. Audio files followed, where they discussed forcing the marriage stipulation to manipulate investor trust. It was a setup from the beginning. Maya's eyes widened. How did you get this? Olivia, Ethan said simply. She never stopped digging. A moment of stunned silence passed. Then Langston spoke, voice softer now. I see. Ethan turned to Maya. Now tell them what we're going to do. She rose, her emerald green blouse catching the early morning light. Strong, steady. I'm launching the Real Vision Initiative, a corporate policy to hold every senior decision accountable not just to profit margins, but to human impact. And effective today, Ethan added. I'm stepping away as CEO, not because I'm guilty, but because I want to lead from somewhere else. The board shifted uncomfortably. From where exactly? One member asked. From the ground, Ethan replied. I'll consult, mentor. But Maya's taking over the innovation division, and this company is going to learn what it means to lead with both strategy and soul. Maya blinked. Wait, I am? He turned to her. You think I survived all this just to run the same hamster wheel? No, you're better at this than I ever was. She exhaled, stunned. You're serious. He smiled. Scary, isn't it? The board voted later that day. Unanimously. The Real Vision Initiative was greenlit. Ethan Sterling would step down as CEO, and Maya Carter would become Chief Strategy and Culture Officer, with full oversight on innovation, ethics, and internal policy. By nightfall, news outlets blasted headlines like, Sterling shakes the system, CEO steps down, wife takes reins in corporate reformation. But back at the penthouse, things were far from corporate. Maya sat curled on the balcony sofa in a loose hoodie, mug of tea in hand, watching the city glitter below. Ethan joined her, 2 fingers of whiskey in a crystal glass. He didn't speak for a while. I thought I'd feel lost, he said finally, without the CEO title. You're not lost, Maya murmured. You're just becoming. They sat in the hush of it. After a moment, she turned to him. Why didn't you tell me you were stepping down? Because I knew you'd try to stop me. She gave him a look. And because, he added, I wanted to see you shine without me handing you the spotlight. I didn't want the spotlight. But you deserve it. Maya looked at him, really looked. The man who once measured every breath, every choice, now, raw, human, vulnerable, and stronger for it. She leaned in, her voice trembling. Ethan, you gave me back my voice. And you gave me my heart. He whispered. She touched his face. Then I guess we're even. No, he said softly, leaning his forehead against hers. I'm forever in your debt. They kissed, slow, quiet, honest. And when they broke apart, Maya whispered, let's write a new contract. Ethan smiled. What are the terms? She grinned. Clause 1. You keep making me tea when I'm tired. Clause 2. He said, you never stop challenging me. They laughed. Clause by clause, night by night, they were rewriting everything they thought they knew about power, love, and legacy. Together. And as the city pulsed beneath them, Maya knew something with a certainty deeper than any merger or contract. She wasn't just Ethan's wife. She was his revolution. Session 7. Ghosts never die quietly. It started with an envelope. No sender. No logo. Just a single name, Written in elegant, deliberate script. Ethan Sterling. It arrived by hand, not courier. Not mailroom. Hand-delivered to the front desk at Sterling Technologies. Addressed directly to his private office. Maya found it first. She was sorting files in Ethan's office, helping clear out the final remnants of his former title, when the receptionist called. "Mrs. Sterling? A letter just came for your husband. No return address." Maya felt a strange chill pass over her. Something cold and sharp, like memory itself walking into the room. She took the envelope. It was heavy. The paper, textured linen. Inside, a folded photo. And beneath it, a short note. She unfolded the picture first. A woman, stunning, fragile, her smile soft, eyes fierce. Her hand rested on the chest of a man in a navy blue suit. Ethan. But it wasn't Maya in the photo. It was someone else. Someone with long auburn hair and a laugh frozen in time. Maya's breath hitched. The note was worse. "You thought you buried me. You didn't. Love always. Genevieve." Genevieve. The name hit her chest like a slammed door. Ethan's first fiancée. The one no one spoke about. The one who, according to a single vague article Maya once read, had disappeared 2 weeks before their wedding. Maya had never asked. Ethan had never told. They both danced around the subject, too caught up in their present to unravel the past. But now, the past had arrived, dressed in perfume and secrets. Later that evening, Ethan came home to find Maya sitting by the window, the envelope in her lap. She didn't speak at first, just held it out. His expression changed in an instant. He didn't take the envelope, didn't touch the photo. He just sat down beside her, slowly, carefully. "Where did you find this?" he asked. "It was delivered to your office." A long, thick silence. Maya turned to him, eyes searching. "Ethan, who is she?" He ran a hand through his hair, jaw tense. "She's a ghost." Was she real? He nodded. "Very real. For a while." And then, finally, he told her. 6 years ago, Ethan Sterling had been a rising star in tech. Before Sterling Technologies was public. Before the media called him the Ice King. He was just a sharp-minded son of a dynasty with a plan and a woman who claimed to love him. Genevieve Alden. She was brilliant, a data scientist from MIT with a rebellious streak and eyes that could disarm a boardroom. They were the golden couple, until Ethan discovered that Genevieve had been feeding insider documents to a rival startup. In exchange for equity and a quiet board seat, she had planned to marry him and take his company from within. "She betrayed me," Ethan said, voice low, "and when I confronted her, she vanished. Left the city, changed her number, her job, everything." Maya sat in stillness, letting it all wash over her. "And now she's back?" she whispered. "She's not just back," he said bitterly. "She wants something. Revenge?" He met her eyes. "Leverage." The next morning, Maya received a calendar invite. From Genevieve Alden. Subject: Coffee, just us two. Location: Bryant Park Cafe. Time: 11 a.m. sharp. No preamble, no explanation, just audacity. Maya stared at the screen for a full minute, then clicked accept. It was raining in Manhattan. Genevieve wore cream. She sat at a bistro table under a wide umbrella, sipping black coffee like it was blood. Maya approached calmly, professionally dressed, hair tied back. She didn't sit immediately. "I wasn't sure if you were real," Maya said flatly. Genevieve smiled. "And yet here I am. You're playing with fire." Genevieve tilted her head. "You mean Ethan's temper or your own?" Maya didn't blink. "I mean I don't scare easy. Neither did I once." She gestured to the empty seat. Maya sat. "I didn't come to threaten your marriage," Genevieve said. "I came to give you a choice." Maya raised an eyebrow. Genevieve slid a flash drive across the table. "I have documents, emails, from Ethan's early investor days. Things he signed under pressure. Things that could ruin him if taken out of context." Maya didn't touch the drive. "What do you want?" she asked. Genevieve leaned in, voice like silk laced with venom. "I want a seat at Sterling Technologies. I want the Horizon Innovation Lab. I want in." Maya's lips parted slightly in shock. "You betrayed Ethan. You tried to burn him down. And I regret that," Genevieve said smoothly. "But the world has no room for regret. Only redemption. I don't want to take him down now. I want to come back, stronger. With you. You think I'd partner with you?" Genevieve's eyes gleamed. You and I both know Ethan's walls don't come down for just anyone. You broke through. So did I. That means we're not so different. Maya stood, fists tight. We are nothing alike. Think carefully. Genevieve said. If I go to the press with what I know, Sterling falls. Ethan falls. You fall. But if you back me, I give you full control of the story. Maya turned away. But Genevieve's last words followed her into the rain like a curse. Ask yourself, Maya, how much of Ethan's soul do you really own? That night, Maya didn't sleep. She watched Ethan as he worked at the kitchen island. Sleeves rolled up, focused on spreadsheets that no longer defined him. She remembered the way he kissed her when he was scared. The way he played piano when he couldn't speak. The way his hand still reached for hers in a crowd. And she knew what she had to do. At dawn, Maya walked into the Sterling boardroom, alone. She dropped the flash drive on the table. Transparency, she said, that's what we're built on now. Right? She handed the drive to Olivia. Audit everything. Cross-check every email. If there's anything real in there, we'll handle it publicly. And if it's a bluff? Olivia asked. Maya smiled grimly. Then we flush out a ghost. Genevieve didn't expect Maya to fight back. She certainly didn't expect Ethan to show up at her apartment the next day. He said nothing at first. Just handed her a letter. Signed by all current board members. Plus legal. It read, you are formally banned from any acquisition, employment, or partnership with Sterling Technologies. Any attempt to leverage past documents will be met with legal retaliation. Genevieve's smirk finally dropped. You chose her, she said. I did, Ethan said, and I'd do it again. You think you're safe? No, he said calmly. But I'm not afraid anymore. Genevieve stepped back. She's changed you. He looked toward the skyline. She saved me. Then he left. And with that, the last ghost of his past began to fade. Session 8. A message from the past. The envelope arrived on a Sunday. Not at Sterling Technologies. Not at their penthouse. But at the piano. More precisely, inside the old Steinway upright in Ethan's late mother's storage unit. An instrument Maya insisted they restore as a symbol of healing. The movers had been polishing the keys when they found it, wedged between the backboard and the lid. Yellowed with age, Maya held it in her hands with reverence. The handwriting was delicate, unmistakably feminine. To Ethan, for when he's ready. Love, Mom. She didn't open it. She couldn't. Instead, she walked into Ethan's study, where he was staring at code he no longer needed to write. Still dressed in pajama pants and an old Columbia hoodie. I found something, she said, her voice quieter than usual. Ethan turned, and when he saw the envelope, his face changed, not with recognition, but with something more ancient. A grief that never learned to age. Maya handed it to him. He stared at it for a long time. I didn't know she wrote to me. She wanted you to find it, when you were ready. I've never been ready. Maya smiled gently. Maybe that's the point. He didn't open it right away. For the next hour, he walked the apartment like a man on the edge of something too vast to name. Maya left him alone. She knew the battle wasn't with the letter. It was with what came after. Finally, as the sun dipped below Manhattan's skyline, Ethan sat at the piano, placed the envelope on the music stand, and opened it with a breath so shaky it hurt to hear. The letter inside was written on lavender stationery. Neat, intimate. My sweet Ethan, if you're reading this, I'm probably not around anymore. I'm sorry, baby. That's not how I wanted to leave you, with unanswered questions and a piano that remembers me better than you do. I know your father won't let you grieve. I know he'll teach you to hide your feelings, to lead with logic, to bury softness like it's weakness. But I want you to know something he'll never say. Feelings are not your enemy. They're your compass. You're going to grow up brilliant. I know it. You'll build empires. But I need you to promise me something. Don't forget to build a life. 2. One day, you'll meet someone who won't be impressed by your money or your mind. She'll see through your walls. Let her in. And when you do, don't make her earn your love like it's a promotion. Give it freely, like I gave mine to you. Always. Mom. The letter slipped from his hands. Ethan covered his face, and Maya, watching from the kitchen, finally walked over, wrapping her arms around him as he folded. Finally, into grief he'd postponed for 25 years. He didn't speak much for the next few days. But he played, not just nocturnes, he played Chopin, Debussy, originals, Melodies that shifted from anguish to hope. Notes that mourned and celebrated the woman who taught him that music had meaning. And then one night, he sat on the floor beside Maya as she worked through emails on the couch. His head rested on her thigh, a glass of scotch in his hand. "I didn't cry at her funeral," he said quietly. Maya brushed a hand through his hair. "You were 8. You weren't supposed to know how. I remember standing next to my father. His jaw was tight, his hand on my shoulder like a weight. I looked at him and thought, if I cry, I'll make it worse. So you didn't cry." "I never cried again," he said, voice hoarse. "Until you." Maya kissed the top of his head. "Then maybe your mom was right." He tilted his face to look up at her. "About what?" She said, "Feelings are your compass." Ethan reached into his hoodie pocket. He pulled out the letter, now worn soft from rereading. "I think I'm ready to follow it now." A week later, Maya took Ethan to Brooklyn Heights, to a tiny nonprofit innovation center tucked between a florist and a bookstore. "This is the place I told you about," she said, smiling at the brick walls and chalkboard signs. "You mean the startup where you wanted to build something on your own?" She nodded. "And this is where you're going to change the world?" "Not change it," she said, "just make it a little less cold." He turned to her, sliding his hand into hers. "Then I want in." Maya laughed. "You're the CEO of a billion-dollar tech company." "Not anymore," he said. She blinked. "What?" "I resigned this morning." "What, Ethan? Why?" "Because I don't want to be the man my father trained me to be anymore," he said simply. "I want to be the man my mother hoped I'd become." Maya stared at him, heart-thudding. "Besides," he added, "you're the only boss I've ever loved." That night, Ethan composed a new piece. He titled it, Letter to Her. Not for his mother, not for Genevieve, not even for Maya, really, but for the parts of himself he'd buried, the songs he'd silenced, the love he'd never thought he deserved. Maya listened to it alone in the early hours of the morning, standing in the doorway of the music room. And when it ended, she whispered, "Play that at our wedding." Ethan turned around. "What wedding?" Maya grinned. "The one that starts without a contract." He stood, crossed the room, and kissed her like he hadn't been born to business but to this, to them. And when he pulled back, breathless, he whispered the first line of the next song he'd write. "Feelings are not the enemy." Session 9, The Undoing and the Stand. The press conference was set for 9 a.m. At 7:42, Maya stood alone in the backstage lounge of the Four Seasons ballroom, her fingers trembling as she adjusted the lapel mic to her collar. Outside, the media buzzed like a hive. Wall Street Journal, Forbes, TechCrunch, and half of New York's tech investors. All of them waiting for one thing. A scandal, or a miracle. Behind her, the double doors opened, and Ethan entered. No tie, sleeves rolled up, the cuffs of his black shirt frayed in a way he would have once called unacceptable. Now, it looked right. "Ready?" he asked. Maya turned to him, searching his eyes for any trace of doubt. She found none. "No scripts?" He shook his head. "Just the truth." She reached for his hand. "Then let's go down with honesty, not strategy." The podium lights were brutal. Maya stepped up first. Her name flashed on the screen behind her. Maya Carter, co-founder. The Grove Innovation Lab, the company Ethan had funded with his own severance package. She cleared her throat. "You all know me as the woman who married Ethan Sterling during a billion-dollar merger," she began. "You probably have questions about whether it was real or corporate performance art." Murmurs rippled across the crowd. "It started as a contract," Maya admitted. "Yes, we agreed to marry to secure a business deal. But what no one tells you is what happens when a contract collides with something uncontrollable like music. Or grief. Or love." She glanced at Ethan, standing off to the side, watching her like she was the only person in the room. "He taught me structure. I taught him feeling. Somewhere between spreadsheets and piano keys. We stopped acting." Reporters leaned forward. "I'm not here to convince you of our story," she said. "I'm here to live it. And if truth costs me my reputation, so be it. But I won't apologize for loving a man who learned to feel because of me." The room erupted in camera clicks. Ethan stepped up beside her. No notes, no PR team, just a man holding a letter in one hand, and Maya's in the other. "My father believed leadership meant control," Ethan began. "Control of assets, control of people, control of feelings. When he died, I inherited his empire and his ghosts." He paused, letting the silence carry weight. I used to believe contracts could protect us from chaos. That if you signed enough papers, love couldn't hurt you a beat. But then I met someone who never needed control to be strong. Maya taught me that some of the best things in life aren't earned. They're given, freely, fearlessly. He held up the letter, his mother's. She wrote me this before she died. I didn't open it until last month. It said, "One day, you'll meet someone who won't be impressed by your money or your mind. She'll see through your walls. Let her." He looked at Maya. I did. After the conference, the SEC dropped the inquiry within 48 hours. The stock didn't plummet, it stabilized. And for the first time in weeks, the narrative was no longer about fraud or manipulation. It was about something far more disruptive. Redemption. 2 days later, Olivia Grant came to visit them in Brooklyn. She walked into their shared office at the Grove. Ethan now working under Maya's leadership as Director of Visionary Strategy. A title he'd invented just to avoid consultant. Olivia sat, crossed her legs, and said, "You two broke the algorithm." Maya smirked. "Was it ever supposed to work? You made vulnerability marketable." Olivia mused. "Investors are calling it the heart-led leadership model. I got 5 emails this morning asking if Sterling 2.0 is hiring." Ethan laughed. "We're not building another empire. We're growing a garden." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "And what if someone tries to buy it?" Maya looked at Ethan. "Then we tell them," she said. This garden wasn't grown for sale. That evening, they returned to the piano. Maya curled on the bench as Ethan played. Nocturne, then jazz, then something new. "Name that piece," she whispered. Ethan stopped, looked at her, and said softly, "The sound of letting go." She rested her head against his shoulder. "You finally did it." "What?" "Let go of your father's ghost. Of control. Of fear." He pressed a kiss to her hair. "No, I didn't let go of everything." She smiled. "What did you keep?" "You." Session 10, the final choice. 1 year later. The Grove Innovation Summit, Manhattan. The stage was sleek and modern. Glass podiums with embedded touchscreens. Floral arrangements minimalist but deliberate. On the backdrop screen glowed the words, "The Grove Summit 2027. Growth rooted in integrity." Maya Carter, now Maya Carter Sterling, stood backstage in a tailored ivory jumpsuit. Her curls twisted up, an understated diamond pin gleaming at her collar. This wasn't a press conference. This was her moment. Beside her, Ethan adjusted her mic, not because it needed adjusting, but because touching her steadied him. "I still don't know how you do this without notes," he said quietly. "I don't speak from paper," Maya replied, eyes locked on the stage. "I speak from truth." He kissed the side of her forehead. Then truth's about to get a standing ovation. When Maya stepped into the spotlight, the room hushed. Journalists, investors, tech founders, nonprofit leaders, all eyes on her. This was the first time she'd spoken publicly since she and Ethan had turned down a $1.8 billion buyout for the Grove. And no one could understand why. "Thank you for being here," she began. "1 year ago, I stood in front of cameras with a man I'd married for business. I told you our story wasn't a lie. Just complicated." Soft chuckles rippled through the room. "Today, I'm not here to defend that story. I'm here to tell a new one. The one we wrote afterward. The one where we learned that growth isn't just profit. It's people, trust, presence." She paused, eyes scanning the crowd. "When I started the Grove, people said emotional intelligence had no place in innovation. But our research shows otherwise. Teams with heart outperform teams with just hustle. Leaders who listen build legacies, not just revenues." A slide appeared on the screen behind her. The Grove's retention rate, 97%. The crowd stirred. "This isn't just our success. It's our decision to lead from love. And to let go of fear." As applause echoed, Ethan stepped beside her. She turned to him. "You want to tell them the rest?" Ethan gave a rare smile. Then faced the crowd. "We're stepping back." The room gasped. "We're not quitting," Maya clarified. "We're evolving. We're handing over day-to-day leadership to the team we trust. Because if we've learned anything, it's that love needs space." Ethan added, "We built this company on our story. Now it's time to live beyond it." That night, they returned to the penthouse where it all began. The place was warmer now, cozier. There were plants, books, framed photos of a life they hadn't planned to build, but did anyway. As Maya stood by the balcony, She heard the familiar notes of Chopin drifting from the piano behind her. She turned, but Ethan wasn't playing. He stood beside the piano, holding something in his hand. A second ring box. "What is this?" she asked. "Round 2, he said, walking over. "I know we're already married, but we never had a real wedding. No vows, no music, no us." He opened the box. Inside wasn't a ring, but a key, old, brass, and engraved with the letters WFH. Maya's brow furrowed. "We bought a house?" she guessed. "No," Ethan replied. "We bought her house." Maya's heart stopped. "Your mother's house? The one I haven't been back to since I was 8. Ethan nodded. "It's ours now. I want to restore it, refill it, relearn everything I unlearned. Will you do that with me?" She stepped forward, tears brimming. "I would have married you in a boardroom again," she whispered. "But this is the only proposal I've ever wanted." He smiled, eyes glassy. "Then let's make a new kind of contract. No signatures," she said, cupping his face. "No clauses," he promised. "Just us." 6 months later. Location: New Hampshire countryside. Spring bloom. Under an open canopy of wisteria vines, Maya and Ethan stood hand in hand before 30 of their closest friends and family. There were no corporate sponsors, no photographers, no influencers, just laughter, birdsong, and a string quartet playing a soft melody, one Maya instantly recognized. It was their song, the one Ethan had composed the first time he admitted he loved her. The one that had never been published, never shared, until now, as he played it on a baby grand nestled in the grass. Maya walked toward him in a champagne-colored dress, bare feet on soft earth. He stood when she reached him. "I never wrote vows," Ethan said, "but every time I play this song, it is my vow. And I never planned this day," Maya added, "but I've never felt more prepared." They exchanged reins. No officiant, no speeches, just music and memory, and the gentle understanding that some of the strongest contracts aren't witnessed by courts but by eyes and hearts and time. Sunset. Porch of WFH. Ethan sat on the porch swing. Maya curled beside him, her head on his chest. "Do you miss it?" she asked. "The empire, the chaos. I miss playing to win," he admitted, "but now I get to play for us. That's better." She traced lazy circles on his knee. "We built a lot." "We did," he nodded, "but the best thing we ever built wasn't a company." She looked up. "It was home," he said softly. The swing creaked. Fireflies danced across the lawn. And as the stars came out, Ethan picked up the guitar resting beside them, his new instrument of choice, and played the first few chords of a song Maya hadn't heard before. "What's this one called?" she whispered. He looked down at her, eyes full of the man she'd waited a lifetime to find. The longest contract. 1 year later. Spring in New Hampshire, just outside their countryside home. The late afternoon sun bathed the rolling hills in gold, casting long shadows across the porch where Maya Carter Sterling sat, gently swaying on the wooden swing. Her curls framed her face, soft and loose, a warm breeze brushing her cheek. Her hand rested in the hand of the man beside her, the man who once vowed to never let love interfere with business. Now, Ethan Sterling was no longer the cold CEO in a crisp Tom Ford suit. He wore a soft linen shirt, barefoot, with a simple guitar resting on his lap. No spreadsheets, no contracts, no boardroom, just Ethan, her Ethan, strumming a quiet melody that drifted into the hush of the evening. "Do you ever miss the company?" Maya asked softly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I do," Ethan admitted, "but not for the meetings or the power. I miss the purpose, the fight." "And now?" She turned to him. He smiled faintly. "Now I fight for something else. Someone else." Still dramatic, she teased, nudging his arm with her shoulder. "I'm learning," he said, eyes twinkling, "learning to let go of strategy and hold on to what's real." They sat in silence, the kind that felt full rather than empty. Ethan's fingers glided over the strings again, playing a tune Maya had come to love, a melody he'd written the night they moved into the house. "Do you know what this song is called?" he asked. She shook her head. "Tell me." "The Longest Contract." He looked at her with the kind of quiet that felt like a vow. No fine print, no expiration, no terms. He leaned closer, voice barely above a whisper. "Just you and me." Her eyes misted. "I agree," she replied. to every undefined clause. He set the guitar aside, turning fully toward her. "Thank you," he said, taking both of her hands. "For what?" "For turning a corporate transaction into a home. For teaching me that not everything needs to be controlled. And for staying, even when there was no contract forcing you to." A tear slipped down her cheek. But she was smiling. "We started with a contract," she whispered, "but we ended with a symphony." Ethan kissed her forehead, lingering there. "No," he said gently. "This isn't the end. Not yet." 6 months later, their real wedding. In the garden of Ethan's mother's home. Under a wisteria-covered archway. Maya walked barefoot across the grass in a soft satin dress. No veil, no diamonds, just grace. Ethan waited beneath the blooms, dressed simply in a white shirt and suspenders. A single lavender sprig pinned to his chest. There were no reporters, no legal witnesses, no PR strategy. Just them, and a melody Ethan played on the piano minutes before she walked out. Not many guests, she joked as she reached him. Just the important ones, he said, slipping a ring, vintage and delicate, his mother's, onto her finger. "I vow," he whispered, "to never need another contract." Maya placed her hand over his chest. "You've already signed the only one that matters." That night, back at the house, the fire crackled in the living room as Ethan sat at the piano. Maya nestled beside him on the bench. He played their melody, now known as The Longest Contract. Its notes soft and full, telling a story no boardroom could ever contain. "I used to think real love was unpredictable," Ethan said quietly. "Dangerous." She looked at him, eyes glowing. "And now? Now I know," he said, pressing a kiss to her hand. "It's the only thing worth trusting." Maya rested her head on his shoulder, fingers gently brushing the keys. "You used to control everything. Now look at you, risking your heart." He chuckled, kissing the top of her head. "And you," he said, "the woman who once hated every clause, ended up writing the only one I'll never escape from." "Which is?" "Forever," he whispered. They began with a business deal. They ended with a love story. But somewhere in the middle, they discovered something stronger than terms, deeper than strategy, a contract not written in ink, but in time, trust, and the quiet courage to fall in love, for real. Thank you for watching this Millionaire Love Stories today. Every love story is a journey, filled with passion, heartbreak, and unforgettable moments. And here at Millionaire Love Stories, we bring you the most captivating tales of love, wealth, and destiny. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget, like to support more incredible content. Comment your thoughts. Would you choose love over riches? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Millionaire Love Stories, because love knows no limits. Because love changes everything. See you in the next story.